When a nation learns that its leaders are embroiled in ethical quandaries, how does that affect the fabric of society and the populace's engagement in politics? Throughout history, political scandals have served as critical turning points, revealing the vulnerabilities within governance and dramatically shaping public perceptions of political institutions. What happens when those in power wield their authority for personal gain, and how does that impact public trust in democracy? In modern Britain, politics has been controlled by a series of high-profile scandals that brought individual politicians to their knees and exposed systemic flaws within the political establishment. These scandals, starting from personal misconduct to profound breaches of ethical conduct and integrity, underline the complicated relationship between power, accountability, and the public's trust relationship that is essential to the health of any democracy. The concept of a political scandal is mixed and often varies based on societal norms, expectations, and the political context. Generally defined, a political scandal involves actions or behaviors of political figures that are unethical, illegal, or incompatible with public expectations. Such events typically attract extensive media coverage, emerging conversations about morality, fairness, and the efficacy of political systems. While some scandals may focus primarily on personal conduct, often characterized by infidelity or corruption, others bring systemic issues to the forefront, demanding urgent reforms and accountability within institutions. The implications of these scandals extend well beyond the individuals involved as they signal a public's grievance and frustration with the political landscape, often preparing movements for change. In understanding the political scandals that have unfolded in modern Britain, it is crucial to consider both their immediate and long-lasting impacts on public trust and governance. Following each scandal, the political landscape tends to shift dramatically as political parties climb to restore the confidence of an increasingly doubtful electorate. The decrease of public trust often leads to decreased voter turnout, doubt toward politicians, and an overall disinterest in city engagement, an outcome harmful to the democratic process. Thus, how political scandals are perceived and addressed has far-reaching effects, influencing policy development, party dynamics, and the broader narrative surrounding political accountability. Political scandals have been pivotal in shaping the course of modern British history, influencing public trust, governmental policies, and the very fabric of political engagement. These scandals often emerge as a result of unethical behavior, legal violations, or serious breaches of conduct by public officials and can have long-lasting effects on individuals, political parties, and institutions. They serve as a lens through which we can examine the state of democracy and the expectations placed upon leaders and representatives. The scrutiny that follows can redefine power structures, push for reform, and bring to light critical issues affecting society. This comprehensive analysis of political scandals in Britain explores key events, their ramifications, and the lessons learned from them, all while maintaining a clear and accessible narrative. At the heart of these scandals lies a common theme, which is the complex intersection of power, accountability, and the public's expectation for ethical governance. Understanding political scandals requires a broad definition. Generally, a political scandal involves actions or behaviors of individuals in power that are deemed scandalous, unethical, or illegal. These incidents often garner extensive media coverage, igniting public debates about morality, governance, and the effectiveness of political systems. While some scandals center on the personal conduct of politicians, others spotlight systemic issues within political structures. So, the implications of each scandal ripple through society, influencing legislation, changing public perceptions, and shining a light on the darker aspects of political operation. One of the most famous scandals in British history is the Profumo affair, which erupted in the early 1960s and captivated the nation. This scandal involved John Profumo, then the Secretary of State for War, and a young model named Christine Keeler. The affair drew intense research not only because of the personal carelessness, but also because Keeler was linked to a Russian diplomat. This connection raised significant national security concerns during the height of the Cold War, creating a tense atmosphere around the unfolding events. Initially, Profumo vehemently denied any wrongdoing, telling Parliament that there was no impropriety in his relationship with Keeler. However, as evidence mounted against him, he was forced to acknowledge the truth of the allegations. The scandal came to climax in Profumo's resignation, a significant event that led to widespread media coverage and public interest. This incident served as a turning point in British politics, significantly diminishing both Profumo's career and the public's trust in the Conservative government. The ramifications of the Profumo affair were profound. It not only marked a decisive loss for the Conservative Party in the subsequent 1964 election, but also raised essential questions about the moral obligations of public officials. The scandal drove ongoing discussions about accountability within the political atmosphere and the importance of transparent conduct in public office, setting an example for future expectations. Next, we talk about the Cash for Questions scandal, which erupted in the mid-1990s and further exposed the murky relationship between money and politics in Britain. This scandal came to light when it was revealed that certain Conservative MPs were accepting payments from lobbyists to table questions in Parliament on behalf of those lobbying interests. The media, particularly The Guardian, played an important role in exposing this corrupt practice through investigative journalism, uncovering the extent to which financial influence drained into the parliamentary process. The public was outraged at these revelations, leading to heightened scrutiny of politicians and demands for accountability. The fallout from the Cash for Questions scandal was significant. Several MPs faced public backlash, resignations followed, and public trust in politicians plummeted. This scandal prompted a national debate about the integrity of parliamentary practices, ultimately leading to considerable reforms aimed at increasing transparency. The establishment of the Parliamentary Standards Authority, among other regulatory measures, reflected an attempt to resolve the ethical issues that had surfaced. The Cash for Questions scandal not only highlighted the underlying problems associated with lobbying, but also solidified the role of media in holding political figures accountable, showcasing the importance of a vigilant press in safeguarding democracy. As the years progressed, another scandal rocked the political landscape that was the Cash for Honours controversy. This scandal came to the forefront in the mid-2000s and raised serious concerns regarding the relationship between political donations and honorary titles in the United Kingdom. Several allegations emerged suggesting that individuals were being rewarded with royalty in exchange for significant financial contributions to political parties. Investigations revealed a troubling pattern that, if unchecked, suggested that political influence could be bought. The claims led to police inquiries and parliamentary investigations, igniting a public shout over the ethics of such practices. The implications of the Cash for Honours scandal were wide-ranging. The revelations caused serious discussions around the transparency of party funding and led to calls for regulatory reform. Political figures were compelled to defend their actions and clarify how honours and peerages are awarded, ensuring that meritocracy, rather than financial capacity, guided these decisions. The scandal highlighted a significant gap in public trust, particularly in how political power and wealth intersected. It also pushed for more stringent oversight, underscoring the need for clear guidelines governing political donations and honorific recognitions. In 2009, the UK experienced one of its most damaging controversies, which was the MP's expenses scandal. This scandal unfolded after it was revealed that several members of Parliament had submitted exaggerated and, in some cases, entirely fraudulent claims for expenses. Reports surfaced detailing extravagant expenditures ranging from cleaning services for Trench to claims for luxury home improvements and other personal indulgences. The scandal was ignited when the Daily Telegraph published leaked documents showcasing the extent of these abuses. Public shock quickly turned to outrage, prompting a larger conversation about ethics and governance. The media's essential function as a watchdog brings forth another critical dimension of the conversation surrounding political scandals. Investigative journalism has been invaluable in unveiling misconduct and demanding accountability from those in power. The role of the media extends beyond reporting as it assembles encouraging informed public discourse and encouraging civic engagement. However, alongside this important responsibility, there is a need for ethical journalism practices that prioritize accuracy over sensationalism. The digital age has amplified both the speed of information dissemination and the risk of misinformation. Responsible reporting and media literacy among the public are vital in finding the complexities of modern communication. Another crucial takeaway from the discourse on political scandals is the need for comprehensive reforms aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability within political systems. Scandals often act as a wake-up call for policymakers, highlighting poverty and loopholes in existing regulations. In the aftermath of scandals, there is an opportunity for meaningful reform to be pursued, whether through structuring transparent lobbying practices, enhancing oversight of campaign financing, or approving stricter regulations to safeguard against conflicts of interest. The establishment of independent bodies, such as the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, IPSA, signifies a commitment to addressing systemic vulnerabilities and ensuring that politicians are held to account. Furthermore, the societal context surrounding political scandals cannot be overlooked. Events like the Windrush scandal exemplify how institutional failings can lead to egregious injustices, particularly against marginalized communities. Lessons from such scandals underline the importance of inclusivity, human rights considerations, and the need to ensure that governance serves all constituents, regardless of race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. A commitment to equality and fairness must permeate the fabric of political discourse and policymaking to prevent future injustices and reinforce public faith in the system. The ramifications of the expenses scandal were significant and immediate. The public outrage led to a rapid decline in trust in politicians, which continues to affect engagement in the political process today. Many MPs face consequences, including resignations, the loss of parliamentary seats, and criminal charges. The fallout triggered the establishment of the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, IPSA, an organization tasked with overseeing MPs' expenses to ensure accountability and transparency. IPSA represents a significant step toward rebuilding public confidence in governance, indicating that both political leaders and institutions could learn from past mistakes. The digital age brought with it new challenges for political integrity, showing vividly by the Cambridge Analytica scandal intertwined with the Brexit referendum. In 2016, as the UK prepared for the critical decision to leave the European Union, allegations surfaced regarding the misuse of personal data by the political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica. The firm was accused of harvesting the personal information of millions of Facebook users without their consent, using this data to create targeted advertisements intended to sway public opinion in favor of Brexit. The scandal sparked serious legal and ethical questions about data privacy, campaign financing, and the lengths to which political campaigns would go to influence voter behavior. The revelations led to widespread condemnation and an urgent re-evaluation of existing regulations surrounding data protection, particularly in political campaigning. As investigations unfolded, it became evident that the manipulation of electoral processes through data breaches posed a direct threat to democratic practices. The fallout from the scandal underscored the importance of ethical considerations in the digital age, prompting discussions about the responsibilities of tech companies in safeguarding personal information and the role of regulatory bodies. In between the political turmoil, the Windrush scandal emerged in 2017, bringing to light the unjust treatment of individuals from the Caribbean, known as the Windrush generation, who arrived in the UK between 1948 and 1971. Many members of this group faced wrongful detentions and deportations, making headlines as stories of long-standing residents facing unreasonable actions came to light. Despite being legally entitled to live in the UK, many found themselves trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare as the Home Office's hostile environment policies came into effect. The Windrush scandal revealed not only systemic failings within the country's immigration policies, but also raised broader issues around race and citizenship. Public outrage led to debates about the government's treatment of long-standing citizens and the underlying implications of immigration practices. The scandal gave rise to the resignation of Home Secretary Amber Rudd and laid bare the urgent need for reforms in immigration policy. Steps were taken to rectify the wrongs experienced by the Windrush generation through the establishment of compensation schemes and promises of greater protection for the rights of immigrants. This scandal encouraged reflection on the past treatment of marginalized communities and called for a recognition of the contributions they made to British society. Analyzing impact of these scandals on British politics, one recurring theme stands out: the erosion of public trust in political institutions. Scandals have a profound effect on how citizens perceive their leaders, often leading to disillusionment and apathy toward political engagement. This cycle of mistrust can have lasting implications, resulting in decreased voter turnout, disinterest in civic participation, and an overall skepticism of political systems. The challenge for politicians, therefore, is not only to address the immediate fallout of scandals, but also to work towards rebuilding that essential public trust. The consequences of political scandals extend beyond individual politicians. They often instigate calls for reform, compelling governments to examine why these breaches occurred and how to prevent them in the future. Scandals often spark national conversations about ethics, accountability, and transparency, prompting politicians to introduce new regulations and procedures that aim to restore public confidence. The consensus is clear. If the political establishment fails to address these issues, it risks further alienating the public and jeopardizing the health of democracy itself. The role of the media cannot be understated in the context of political scandals. Investigative journalism has frequently been the reactant for exposing unethical practices and revealing the hidden workings of politics. The media serves as a watchdog, holding political figures accountable and providing citizens with information essential to their understanding of governance. However, the media's influence can also be a double-edged sword. Sensationalized reporting or unverified claims can lead to misinformation and exacerbate public distrust. This highlights the need for responsible reporting and media literacy among citizens. Amidst all these challenges, there is a silver lining. The political scandals of the past serve as crucial lessons for future governance. They show the importance of ethical behavior, transparency, and accountability in public office. By learning from past mistakes, political leaders can work towards fostering a culture of integrity and trust, ensuring that the electorate is both informed and engaged. To navigate future challenges, both politicians and citizens must recognize the significance of civic engagement. A politically aware and actively involved electorate has the power to hold leaders accountable and demand ethical behavior. Encouraging active participation in politics, whether through voting, advocacy, or community initiatives, can reinforce the foundational principles of democracy. Additionally, promoting transparency in governance must remain a priority. Public officials need to be transparent about their actions and policies, providing accessible information to citizens. This can enhance public scrutiny and ensure that politicians remain accountable to the people they represent. Establishing strong frameworks for electoral integrity, lobbying regulations, and ethical governance will be essential in preventing future scandals. Ethical standards must be created into the fabric of political culture. Establishing clear guidelines for behavior and accountability mechanisms can cultivate an environment where integrity is valued and upheld. Training programs focusing on ethics and governance can instill these principles within political institutions, ensuring that future leaders prioritize the public good over personal gain. As Britain moves forward in a rapidly changing political landscape, the lessons learned from scandals, like those involving Profumo, Cash for Questions, and the Windrush generation, will serve as guiding principles. Political leaders must be aware of their responsibilities and the expectations of the public. By working collaboratively with citizens, embracing transparency, and impress ethical practices at all levels of government, a stronger foundation for British democracy can be built. Political scandals are tied to the complexities of governance and public expectations. They reflect the ongoing struggles for accountability, integrity, and ethical conduct within political systems. Understanding these scandals is essential not just for comprehension of British political history, but also for ensuring that lessons learned can influence future governance. The path forward requires a renewed commitment to ethical leadership, robust civic engagement, and proactive efforts to foster trust between politicians and the public. By finding the challenges posed by scandals, Britain can work towards a more transparent, accountable, and democratic political future, ultimately serving the interests of its citizens and strengthening the foundations of democracy. As the UK aspires to create a political environment grounded in integrity, it is essential to embrace the ideals of ethical governance and active civic participation. After all, a healthy democracy is built on the trust, engagement, and active collaboration of informed citizens committed to prioritizing the common good. By harnessing the lessons learned from past political scandals, Britain can pave the way towards a more transparent, equitable, and accountable future for all its citizens, ultimately enriching the democratic process and reaffirming the values that underpin the nation's governance. Through careful reflection on past scandals and their profound implications, we can aspire to create a political environment that values integrity and empowers citizens to play an active role in shaping their societies. The road ahead is not without obstacles, but by committing to the principles of ethical governance and embracing public engagement, it is possible to overcome these challenges. How might the lessons learned from past scandals influence the future conduct of politicians and policymakers in Britain? The burden lies not just on politicians, but on the collective responsibility of society to win the values that uphold democracy. A more informed and engaged electorate can tackle the difference in politics, thereby ensuring accountability and transparency are not just aspirations but realities in British governance. How do cultural perceptions of political behaviour influence the public's reaction to scandals, and what implications does this have for future political engagement?